Something that I wanted to touch base on. I didn't want to just let this slip by, and that was Sam Howell getting traded from the Commanders to the Seattle Seahawks. A lot of people want to hear my take on how I feel about what happened with Sam Howell and how he didn't work with the Commanders and if this is the right move for the Commanders. Or if this was the right move for the Commanders, seeing as though it's done. This might come as a shock to some people. But I don't think Sam Howell was a bad quarterback. When you put up some of the numbers that he had, especially early on in the season, you can't be a bad quarterback putting up some of those numbers. There was a point in the season where he was leading the league in passing yards. What I think the issue was with Sam Howell, especially Sam Howell in Washington, is, I mean, if we want to be honest with it, when you're going to a franchise that doesn't have a recent history of winning, when you go into a franchise that a lot of people can consider, a poverty-stricken franchise as far as some of the moves that they made in free agency, some of the moves that they made in the draft, some of the trades that they've essentially made, and ultimately the lack of success you've seen in the last few years, it is incredibly tough being the next up. Because when you're not viewed as a bridge quarterback, you're viewed as, and hopefully looked as the franchise changing quarterback. And that is not Sam Howell at all. Now, that's no offense to him, but that's just what it is. And the issue with Sam Howell, the issue with his time with Washington is they viewed him as that. And they touted him as that. The issue with that, and the reason why you can't do that, is because it brings on extremely hard expectations, not just on him, but on the franchise. You built up this player to be the next X or the next Y. And they were never good enough to do that. I talked about, a lot of times I talk about the different type of quarterbacks that we have in the league. And there's two types of quarterbacks. Cam Newton essentially said there's game changers and there's game managers. I look at it as there's quarterbacks that can do a lot with a little, and there's quarterbacks that can do a little with a lot. Now, the quarterbacks that can do a little with a lot, that sounds bad, but I look at it as those are the quarterbacks that need everything to go right. They need a good offensive line. They need solid weapons. They need a good defense, good coaching staff. Those quarterbacks are useful. Those are the Jimmy G's. At this point of his career, right now, you can have an argument that that's also Russell Wilson. Those quarterbacks are still good, but they need a lot to go right. But then you have the other quarterbacks. You have the quarterbacks that they're still going to be great no matter who they have. The Patrick Mahomes, the Josh Allens, the Lamar Jacksons, the Joe Burrows. The issue that Sam Howell found himself in, and that's honestly no fault to him, It was the promotion. It was how he was viewed. It was how he was touted. A lot of people, especially in the Washington organization, wanted him to be in that can do a lot with a little class. But that's not who Sam Howell was, and that's not who Sam Howell is at this point of his career. I think Sam Howell can be an incredible football player if he has everything go right around him. The issue is Washington is not that type of organization, and has not been that type of organization in my lifetime. Now, that's not without saying that Sam Howell does have some issues. I'm not here saying he's a perfect quarterback. I'm not here saying that Washington failed him in a sense of he was perfect and they were not. No. There are some issues that Sam Howell has in his game that essentially hurt him and his stock with Washington. And those issues were bigger than the low end was bigger than the upside. And that's an issue when you're essentially the face of a franchise. I don't know how he's going to be in Seattle. I don't even know if he's going to start in Seattle or play in Seattle, seeing as though they still have Geno Smith. But I guess moving forward for Sam Howell, which again, I wish the best for any player. Moving forward, it's important for a team, it's important for a franchise, it's important for a player to understand exactly who they are and what they have. And Sam Howell was viewed as a franchise changing, or was promoted, was touted as a franchise changing player. Even though he was picked later in the draft, the fact of, again, you're talking about an organization that is starving for something to latch onto, to be happy about. Seeing as though Washington hasn't been happy, hasn't been relevant, hasn't been good in a while. So you're talking about a fan base that is starving to be to latch on to someone, to latch on to something. And it was pretty much promoted that Sam Howell was that guy. And how quickly people realized, oh, he ain't, should be studied. So I wish nothing but the best for Sam Howell. Again, I don't think all of the reasons why it didn't work in Washington was on him or on the franchise. I just think that when you're talking about a marriage, both parties have to blend. And it seemed like one party needed the other much more than they realized. I think Sam Howell represented much more than he thought going into it. And I think that he was touted as much more than he could provide. And that's why I don't think it worked out in Washington. So we'll see. But shout out to him. Shout out to Seattle. I wish nothing but the best for both. Oh, man, you stayed to the end of the video. I appreciate you. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss any content from your boy. You can also go back and watch past episodes, past clips, and don't forget that the Unpopular Podcast, new episodes drop every Wednesday and Saturday. Appreciate you.